Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys here. I'm a pretty positive person. If you just watch pretty much any of my reviews, I'm always pretty much like, "Oh my gosh, it was so good! It was really good." That's pretty much what I say in every review. This is not one of those. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Uh, yeah. So as you can see in the title, this will be my review of Ralph Bashinki. I don't know how his name. I say his name. Uh, he Ralph Bazinski's or whatever Lord of the Rings animated film. It was the first ever animated Lord of the Rings. It was sorry. It was the first ever Lord of the Rings adaptation, and it came in 1978. And sorry, this review is not scripted. I don't have any of my videos aren't scripted, but yeah. So, I will go through the good and bad of this, but I gotta be honest, you guys. There's gonna be more bads than goods. I rarely have any goods. So let's just go through the bad and then let's end with the good. So, the bad. So yeah, I have many bads. So let's just go through these. Maybe I'll think of more. I don't have any of these written down, so maybe let's see how this goes. Number one, the most important part of this movie was obviously the animation. It's how they show the characters. Any movie, the most important part is how everything looks. It's I don't think it's the script. I think how the characters look, how the fashion or the clothing or whatever you call that, the like props and all that. So the animation has to be number one in this film. I got the animation. I don't know if it was good for 1978. It does not hold up for 2021. Honestly, it like Snow White. That was like the first ever Disney film. I don't know when that came up. Editor Ethan will fact check that. But that was definitely came out like before 1940, I think. And this came out 30 years or 40 years later. How the heck does Snow White look better than this? I don't get that. But this animation style, I'm not a big fan. What is so weird about it, which is very confusing, is I don't. The background looks so like an oil painting, like the style of like Mona Lisa or something, but the characters in the front look so cartoony, so the background doesn't match what the characters look like Frodo and Gandalf. It doesn't match, so you feel like the background is disconnected from the characters. So that was one of my main problems, and it's bad because it's hard to overlook the animation because that's what you're watching the whole 2 hours of this movie. Which that's a nice transition to my next bad. It's only 2 hours, and let me emphasize this. This only covers the first book, Fellowship of the Ring, and let's say less a quarter of the Two Towers. That's another bad on top of one. Why are they covering a part of the Two Towers? And there wasn't even a part two. I think they're planning to do a part two, but part two never came out. So it ends so weirdly. It doesn't even feel like a story. Because if you search up the hero's journey, it has like the start where like the character meets a mentor, and I'll have it on the screen. That's the hero journey has like a full conclusion. So this story just feels so incomplete. I like to think of this as like the Deathly Hallows Part 1 movie. The Deathly Hallows Part 1 movie is not one of my favorite Harry Potter films because it doesn't feel like a story. There's a start, but there's no ending. And that's why, like, Part 2 of Deathly Hallows is a really good story, but there's no start and there's no end. So that's why I'm not a big fan of movie studios splitting a book into two movies, because it doesn't feel like a story. And that's why it's one of the bads of this movie. There's no ending to it. If you know Lord of the Rings, you know how Lord of the Rings ends, and the way it ends is Frodo and Sam are with Gollum, and they're on their way. They're still on their journey to Mount Doom. So I like someone who hasn't read Lord of the Rings and has no idea of like the Peter Jackson films. I don't get what they would have thought when they saw this movie. I would have been really confused if I had not seen had not read the books and seen this movie, because there's no ending. It ends so weirdly. Yeah, so those are many bads. I have a few more. So the animation style, how the background doesn't match the characters, and really big point. So this needs a little explaining. Back then, one of the animation techniques was to have real people doing the movements that the cartoon characters or animations would do. So you'd have a real person do the movements, and then you'd draw over their video. So you'd have a realistic movements that, like, the animation would have the movements of the real people. Sorry, that was a really bad explanation. So, but that pulls out sometimes that they don't make the real life people, they don't make them cartoony enough to match it. So I'll have a picture on the screen there's a picture of Frodo, and then there's a guy behind him who looks so realistic, and then you see like Frodo in the front, and they're so different. So it just feels like they're so disconnected. There's so many mediums in this. There's like, it looks like there's a real person there, and then you have Frodo in the front who's really cartoony. It's like there's not one medium. There's many mediums. There's like real life characters, and then there's like an oil painting in the back that doesn't match the cartoon or the animation like style, and it just doesn't go, like, you notice all these things, and then you can't focus on the story. So yeah, that's it. Those are many bad things. I could go over many more, just how the first like 5 minutes of the movie is literally just real people with a shadow. And it just feels so lazy how they just put like people behind a screen, and they put light behind them, and they're literally real people reenacting like the forging of the rings, just like how they did at the start of the Peter Jackson films. But the thing that's different is Peter Jackson films are live action, and I don't know why they have real people reenacting parts in this animated film. It's an animation. It's not live action. So that is just so frustrating, and I had big hopes for this animation, because I've seen pictures before, and I was really hoping to see a good animation of the Lord of the Rings, and I don't think this Ralph guy pulled it off. I could go on for ages of many bad things. Like Sam, it's not the Sam that I pictured in my mind. Sam just feels really weird. Pippin and Merry aren't the comedic duo that I wished for in this, that they are in the books. And one thing they hugely missed on, which I thought definitely was going to be there, Legolas and Gimli's friendship is not in the film. This movie is so frustrating. In Helm's Deep, when they're having the fight, one of the best friendship moments of Gimli and Legolas is when they're saying like, "Oh, I got 30." Legolas says like he has 31. I have 31. Like that is like a pivotal moment for their friendship. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm pretty disappointed here. I was really hoping, and I guess Ralph just pushed up Peter Jackson's films way higher than they already are, which they are really high. But Ralph just made them way better, just to see how Peter Jackson's films are really good adaptations of Tolkien's works. Now, let's get to the good. Okay, so there's not many good here. I only have a few. The music was pretty good. I mean, it's not on the level of Peter Jackson, but it's totally not terrible. It's a good musical track. There's good scores, and I couldn't have wished, like, that's probably the best part of this whole movie, the score. I know I really trashed on the animation here, but the style, I bet, was good for the time. I know I just said how the animation was all like really bad and stuff, but it was probably good for the time. So I gotta say, yes, it was good for the time. It definitely doesn't hold up now. Now, if I look at it, the animation sucks. But if I was a kid who lived in 1978, then I probably would have said this movie was really good, because there wasn't at all that good of animation back then. And yeah, hope you like the editing. Hope you like my review. And if you really want to go through Torment, oh, sorry, I have one more good thing. Sorry, I'll just continue. If you want to go through Torment, I would watch this. If you're a big Lord of the Rings fan, I wouldn't watch it, because you're just going to get really frustrated. But I'll finish off on one good thing. This adaptation, Lord of the Rings adaptation, is way better than the Percy Jackson adaptations. Thank you for listening. See you next time.